July 13, Sunday, Las Vegas, Nevada. It's 100 degrees, and Galileo has just whiffed Itsu.
Oh no, he misses the Itsue yet again. That is huge.
Dogura punishes him into the corner. Without burst, he must escape with patience. At 73 seconds, they trade blows, but it favors Dogura. At 50 seconds, he lands a jump in. He's up 2-1 in the set, and closing the round would crown him the winner of the biggest tournament in fighting games. At 37 seconds, Galileo lands an overhead. Dogura bursts to escape and gets clipped again.
Oh! He punishes the good stuff. Overdrive!
The reset is coming!
Will this kill? I don't think so.
Is it possible?
I don't think this will kill.
Is this enough to kill? It's
Wait,
gonna kill!
It's doing lots of damage!
Kill!
It's gonna kill!
Galileo has scraped by once more, but when the camera focuses on the players, they look like this.
What is this grand final? Dogura taking massive damage from that. He's had so many major advantages.
Tell me, whose game is it?
There's no more comebacks. This is the tournament.
Guilty Gear XX Accent Core released in 2006. 1 year later would be its first feature at Super Battle Opera, which was one of Japan's biggest fighting game tournaments before its swan song in 2012. One of SBO's most cherished traditions was its team format, where one group of players would go head-to-head against another, knocking each other out until a whole team had been eliminated. It's here, in 2007's Accent Core Teams tourney, that an incredibly promising player would appear. Ryo Nozaki, taking the name Dogura, led his team to a 5th through 8th place spot. Along the way, he'd take out prominent players like Bleed, proving he was a valuable asset to his team, even if they finished in the bottom half of top 8. The next year's tournament would see him team up with the players Efute and N-Otoko, landing his first grand prize win. And then he just stopped. An undoubtedly strong player shows up, crunches out 2 great runs, and then nothing for years. He continued to play locally at his arcade, and there's lots of match footage you can find online, but no tournament record at all. This isn't a terribly uncommon story, I'll be honest. He was 21 at the time, and there's not a lot of money to be made in fighting games. He was probably just preoccupied with life, finishing school, getting a job, moving out. Fighting games were still a passion, but they took a back seat as more of a hobby. This has happened countless times. Good players come and go. Sometimes they come back. But Dogura didn't just come back. He stormed back in. EVO 2012, 9th place in Street Fighter 4. EVO 2013, 49th in Tekken Tag Tournament 2. 9th in Persona 4 Arena. 97th in Street Fighter 4. Arc Revo 2013, 3rd in BlazBlue Chrono Phantasma. 33rd in Guilty Gear XX. This might not sound like a lot. Not all of these are top showings, but you have to understand that these are tournaments entered by the hundreds, with players from all over the world. And competing in this many games while also putting up results like this is crazy. It's really impressive. He was competitive in at least 5 games simultaneously, several of which were in totally different subgenres. Out of all these titles, it seems that a certain group clicked with him more than others. Dogura had a clear preference for games by Arc System Works, whose Guilty Gear series was, in many ways, a blueprint for fast-paced anime-style fighting games. Due to rights issues between ArcSys and Sega, they couldn't develop fighters with the Guilty Gear license until around 2011. In the meantime, they put a new series into production, something to take the mantle of their flagship fighting game. The result was BlazBlue, a frantically fast-paced series bursting with bold visual designs, anime tropes, and innovative gameplay. While it took many cues from Guilty Gear and shares a lot of mechanics, it plays very differently for reasons that are a little too nerdy to get bogged down in now. Suffice to say, it's a unique series that hooked a lot of players in. Dogura was so strong in this game that he would qualify for the Arc Revolution Cup in 2013. Arc Revo, as it's often known, was a Japanese tournament series created by ArcSys to bring their various competitive communities together. This year is significant because it was their very first Arc Revo, meant to celebrate the company's 25th anniversary. When it came time to pick up BlazBlue, Dogura gravitated towards the character who fit his playstyle best, Azrael. From just the first year of his performance, he was already considered one of the best Azrael mains in the world, owing to his smothering yet surgical aggression, quick reactions, and unforgiving combo game. All he needed was one opening to rip the opponent in two, and he subsequently tore through the bracket, taking down the best players in Japan to reach semifinals and N-Otoko. That's right, the same N-Otoko he had won SBO with all those years ago. They were both regulars at the historic Acho arcade in Kyoto. They'd been dueling for years at this point, intimately familiar with each other's playstyles and characters. While the match isn't recorded, Dogura lost. N-Otoko was, after all, one of the most dominant players in Japanese Guilty Gear at that point, and many of his skills transferred over to BlazBlue. After being knocked out of the tournament, he watched his longtime sparring partner and fighting game genius advance to Grand Finals, where he'd be defeated by who? Keiji Okamoto was a longtime casual fan of fighting games. He'd started out the same place Dogura had, with Guilty Gear XX, getting seriously into it at his local arcades in 2006 with the release of Accent Core. At the time, he looked up to a friend of his who went by the name Galileo, and so in homage to him, and to complete the reference, he picked up the tag Galileo. Quick note, Okamoto has gone by both Galileo and Galileo in the past. Because it's obviously a reference to the historical figure and technically the Japanese can be translated either way, I'm going to call him Galileo from here on, mainly because it's easier to pronounce and it's often spoken that way by English speakers anyway. Got it? Cool. I need to stress how out of nowhere Galileo was at the time. There is next to no evidence of him even playing fighting games online, besides a few grainy clips, one of which calls him the unluckiest lychee player. If you were really in the Japanese arcade scene, you might have caught him jamming some games on Tager or his eventual main, Lychee, but he has no tournament entries to speak of. He was comfortably in that semi-competitive zone, where his skills hadn't been put to the flames yet. The moment they were, though, Dogura had a new target. For years, during his own off time, this other threat had been building, and suddenly, both titans had decided to come out of the shadows. The Evolution Championship Series is the biggest tournament in fighting games. A staggering 3-day event in Las Vegas, Nevada, it hosts a number of popular fighting games with an open entry system. Literally, thousands of people pile together from all over the world to find the best players in their games. 2014 was the first year BlazBlue was a main game since 2011. Newer fans of fighting games might not realize this, but ArcSys fighters really put the cult in cult favorite. Calling them niche was an understatement. Guilty Gear had a reputation as being that really crazy hard game with the lowest Evo entrants every year. The situation had improved a bit. It helped that they'd made a game with some brand recognition, like Persona, and actually bothered to market BlazBlue. Still, it was a tight-knit community that often found itself on the outside of the space against the big dogs like Street Fighter and Tekken, where the high stakes of those games came from the sheer number of people involved. For the BlazBlue community, it was much more intimate. There were only so many players, and their names went around. If you were in the Japanese circuit, there's a good chance you'd played against one of them before in pools or at an arcade. This is the stage upon which our two actors stand. One is out to prove he's still great. The other, that he is great. Across dozens of matches versus the best players in the world, neither of them dropped a single game, racking up a straight series of wins in their pools. This includes beasts of the game, like Dora Bang and Tochigin. Semifinals, they're neck and neck in winner's bracket. Galileo faces, who else? N-Otoko. N-O, as he was going by, is playing Rachel, an oppressively powerful, highly technical zoner. He excels at opening the opponent up and locking them down with projectiles. Galileo knows he can't let the pressure up and comes down on him with ceaseless aggression.
She's only usable when she has her staff on down. Guard, that's a crush trigger. It is guard. It does guard crush you when you don't bury it, but he buried it. Now he's out of barrier. Nice
see the crush trigger. He cannot block that because he was in danger mode. He ran out of barrier.
He refuses to be put into the corner and just keeps fighting his way out every time. Once he gets that hit, though, he maximizes it.
Ended up being a decisive factor that match.
N-O falls, cementing his level on the playing field.
Choice for Galileo to predict the motion, and he's going to take it over N-O 4-0.
Oh, the rage quit.
Next up is Dogura. Dogura fights Yoshiki, a very strong Nu 13 player. Nu is a powerful zoner who can keep Asriel out of his preferred close range. A key tool in this matchup is Asriel's Gustav Buster to approach and Growler Field to absorb and reflect projectiles. Yoshiki takes the first match, Dogura retaliates.
Wow, that is some serious pressure. He's not going to. Excellent bait, and he catches the burst.
Yoshiki's in really bad state.
Catches the roll. I love the adaptation for Dogura there. He saw that Yoshiki was being very disrespectful. It was out of meter, out of overdrive. Just used his choice that would cover every option, and his pressure based on the player tendencies.
Any hit will kill.
He got over it. This will kill. Dogura will take it over Yoshiki.
Very nice.
Clutch win in final moments. High profiles in his move, and that means he went over it.
The brackets come down to this. The long, narrowing path of winner's side has found a meeting point in winner's finals. The victor here goes on to grand finals, and the loser is put one mistake from elimination. Dogura and Galileo sit down on stage. BlazBlue is a 4-button fighter with attacks A, B, C, and D. D stands for Drive, which is essentially your gimmick button. Every character in the game has some unique mechanic that sets them apart and defines their playstyle. Dogura's character of choice is Asriel. His drive, the Terror, is aptly named. Using his various drive attacks, he can apply weak points to the opponent, and landing another drive move on the corresponding weak point gives additional effects, like, well, these attacks come from two angles: lows, which must be blocked crouching, and overheads, which must be blocked standing. The majority of attacks in the game are mids, which can be blocked either way. What makes his particular bag of tricks so intimidating is that two of his drive attacks, a low and an overhead respectively, have an identical startup animation. However, one is slightly slower than the other, so the opponent needs to learn a strict timing to block them rather than raw reactions. He's also designed very intentionally with limited range, slow walk speed, and a committal teleporting dash. In short, Asriel is a brawler who wants to close the distance, barrage his opponent with alternating high and low attacks, aka mix-ups, and capitalize on weak points to deal massive damage. He's a sledgehammer of a character, and he couldn't be any more different from the character Galileo helped popularize, Lychee. Lychee is a staff fighter, whose drive lets her place her staff down, completely changing most of her moves. By using the drive button again, she can launch the staff in different directions with different patterns. An amateur will pick her up and have no idea what to do with her, but a student of her large, varied moveset will find that she matches Asriel for oppressive gameplay. She can set up incredibly high-pressure block strings, complex corner-to-corner combos, and a maze of attacks to lock down the neutral game. You can tell both players are well aware of the complexities of the matchup from the first round. Galileo puts safety first, retreating while making sure he's covered by large staff attacks. Dogura takes a slow pace throughout the round, making few committal movements and blocking a lot. Notice this moment where Galileo backs off to full screen with his staff placed behind Dogura. Instead of barreling forward or jumping, Dogura just sits there. He wants to see what Galileo's going to do, and performs a preemptive growler field to absorb the staff's return hit. Finally, he goes on the offensive, ripping Gustav Buster to close the gap and performing a rapid cancel. A mechanic that allows you to spend 50 heat, the game's main resource down here, to cancel out of an attack you're performing. It has many applications, but here he uses it to avoid being punished and sneak in a low drive attack. Now, with a weak point applied, Galileo is forced to play reactively. The threat of Asriel's combos is too high. Dogura lands a hit, juggles into the corner, applies a second weak point, and it's basically over from there.
Oh no!
Now he has what he needs. Dogura gives up the slow, patient play and starts swinging, throwing out big moves and air dashing forwards. In round 2, he knocks Galileo down and manages to avoid Lychee's invincible Dragon Punch move, or DP, with tricky movement. Galileo manages to take it, but in round 3, Dogura correctly calls out his opponent's Panic DP and delays this attack, Sentinel Dump.
Excellent choice from Dogura. Calls the Dragon Punch.
Good damage.
Normally, this does an extra hit while the opponent is on the ground, but by missing it, he closes in and gives himself enough time to block this very punishable attack. This call-out leads to a brutal combo and victory.
This will just barely be enough, but it might not be. Whoa, it's not, but the last hit.
The camera cuts to the players on stage. While Dogura is unbothered, Galileo is deep in thought, visibly shaken. At this stage of the tournament, instead of a 1-2 format, sets go 1-3. Usually, it takes a while to get a read on your opponent, and these longer sets tend to evolve as both players get familiar with each other, but Dogura is essentially saying that he's figured him out after a single round. The struggle here is mental. Instead of retreating to comfortable strategies and old habits, Galileo needs to keep his edge. Game 2, his focus is palpable. He's playing slowly, but with smart movement and solid defense. He controls the pace of the match.
Okay, no. But it's a setup to a one-hit moment.
Next round, Dogura adjusts to Galileo's speed, looking for the holes in that defense. He finds it.
Not quite. Couple big drops.
In the first match, he didn't make much use of his low weak points. Dogura suspects that Galileo thinks that Dogura prefers the overhead drive attacks, so Dogura exploits this by mixing in the lows to great effect. Then, after 2 big lows, he swings overhead.
Super though, because he doesn't have any meter, but the overhead mark.
Round 3, Dogura lets loose. This moment is a bit of a happy accident. Remember that in order to block, you need to hold back, that is, away from the opponent. Dogura misses his Sentinel Dump and ends up behind Galileo, meaning the direction he needs to hold to block changes. Intentional or not, this is really bad luck on Galileo's part. Immediately after, he tries to roll away after being knocked down. In BlazBlue, you become vulnerable part way through your roll, and Dogura does a late Sentinel Dump to catch it. Another hard callout. With 2 weak points placed, Dogura's super becomes unblockable, forcing Galileo to expend one of his most powerful defensive options, Burst. This is a limited resource that makes you invincible and pushes the opponent away. After it's gone, it regenerates slowly. You might only get 1 or 2 uses of it a match, and now Galileo has no more get-out-of-jail cards. Dogura performs 3 overheads in a row. Galileo doesn't even try to challenge it. One more, and he's done.
Does Galileo have a chance?
No. Dogura with a perfect quick drink.
Galileo closes his eyes. He looks like he's burning up inside. When people talk about skill at fighting games, it's often about execution or character matchups, but Dogura is dominating him in a way that's hard to measure: the mental field. Game 3 starts with Galileo playing to his strengths, putting up a wall of long-range normals for Azrael to claw his way through. Dogura is forced to burst and turns the tables after a missed anti-air.
Oh, the late overhead. It's really awkward. You just don't see that against, like, it's hard to register that as an option against Azrael.
Galileo bursts away himself with his health so low, he's signaling he really wants this round. Both players refuse to commit until an explosion of action results in a tense scrape.
Crouching jab, the low profile of the jumper.
And he hit.
Now, if Dogura attacks with a random normal, you can just go straight into super. He misses the confirm. He's going to probably rapid cancel this.
Yeah.
The timer hits 10 seconds. Dogura has less health. If it goes to time, he loses. Galileo runs away, but Dogura is in hot pursuit. He needs to get there, and the throw!
Stop! But he's not even away! Dogura takes another clutch moment. He's on match point against Galileo.
That's gotta hurt, both in-game and psychologically.
Oh, you gotta be...
Galileo has no burst. A single hit can bring him to the corner with no escape. Dogura finds the overhead.
Overhead. The raw one does a ton of damage.
The pressure on Galileo.
You'll notice that the combo counter turns blue here. This means that the defending player could have pressed a button to tech, in this case, rolling out of the way with some invincibility. Galileo makes an incredibly hard decision not to roll out, because he has 2 weak points on him. Dogura can easily bait the roll and do an unblockable super to start a killing combo. This is an impressive level of smart thinking on Galileo's part that shows off his knowledge of the matchup and his opponent. This choice does result in some extra damage, but he survives for long enough to get out. He has a lot of meter to spend on a big rapid cancel combo or a super. He's not actually that far behind.
Any hit goes into it.
Into
overdrive.
Wow.
Oh no!
He dropped the all green. That's a disaster. And he's gonna lose for it.
That's a heartbreaker.
Takes it over Galileo. You know, you see the pain on the face right there.
So, in BlazBlue, every character has a drive, right? As an extension of this, every character can enter a state called overdrive, basically a limited time power-up that juices up whatever your drive is. The catch is that it comes at the cost of your burst. You give up your defensive ability for a maxed out offense. Lychee's overdrive does a lot of things, but mainly it causes her staff to spin constantly, which detaches it from her. When Galileo lands this counter hit, he cancels into overdrive, giving him the opportunity to follow up. The only move that will land from this far away is a super move, all green. All green is performed by pressing forward, back, down, up, and the C attack button. Remember, you're pressing C. Here's what Lychee's staffless C looks like. Galileo gets his one chance, and he screws up the input. Frantically, he does the motion again and gets the move, but it's way too late. Dogura dashes in, hits him low, one mix, and that's it. The scene afterwards is crushing. Galileo offers his opponent a half-hearted handshake, recognizing his own mistakes. He's soaked in emotion, anger, sadness, disbelief, all at himself. Dogura gives him some words of encouragement, but he can't even bring himself to look at him. Eventually, he regains his composure and says something back. Dogura is in an awkward spot here. He's won handily, but the end of the match didn't feel great. It was the opponent's error, not his own play, that got the victory. While these two want nothing more than to beat each other, there's a lot of respect between them, and Dogura knows he needs to give Galileo some space in the aftermath. For Galileo, this defeat is shattering. Every time he got an edge, Dogura adapted and grew 10 times over. This was, above all, a domination of the mind. There's one more set. Losers finals. One path to clear if he wants to make it to the end. And his opponent is Dora Bang. That's right, the same Dora Bang he knocked into losers a few rounds earlier. Dora's namesake is his main, Bang Shishigami, another challenging character with unique movement and a number of ways to blow through an opponent's attacks. Dora is known for his offense and skill at creating mix-ups. Dora's style is immediately apparent. He never stops moving, always the first one in the air or across the ground. Sometimes he'll just jump right over Galileo's head without even attacking. He keeps provoking reactions, forcing guesses and commitments. The speed is too much for Galileo to deal with, and when the overhead comes, he catches him asleep every time.
And RC. Yeah, he's super. Can he jump? He made a mistake there.
Stuck.
So when you hold down Barry in this game, you can't jump at the same time.
That's right.
Galileo's nerves are killing him. He's not getting a lot out of his hits, and a few times he just fails to follow up entirely. Dora easily steals momentum back and knocks him with another overhead. Round 2, Galileo drops another combo, but this actually seems to catch Dora off guard, and he gets hit low despite it. Despite the drops, he gets enough openings to take it.
Galileo's got his legs now, which is important. I mean, he really needed a round. He's been starving for a round for a long time.
Round 3, Galileo gets a good start, forcing Dora's burst. Eventually, Galileo baits a super and takes the round. His play is a lot less organized now. He's finding success, but it's very scrappy and chaotic. The confidence hasn't quite returned. This first round is insane. The mental momentum of the previous game is surging forward, and Galileo delivers a hail of carefully placed strikes. He goes for an air throw, Dora breaks it, and Galileo smacks him with an air normal, calling out a button press. Dora bursts, only to get put back in the corner. There's no drops this time, just a perfect.
He's still working on a perfect, and he gets it.
Dora's answer is a near perfect of his own.
But at least it's a core knockdown. Command grab. Love that choice.
To 1/3. It's air thrown. Will this kill?
The combo, it's not getting nearly as much.
They've both hit their strides now, going into round 3. This round is just as chaotic as the final round of the last game, but energy is markedly different. Every hit is surgical, and every combo is as much as they can get. Their punishes are on point, and ultimately, Galileo seals it up with an amazing combo extension.
Not gonna end. Let's say hypothetically you block that mix-up. It doesn't end there.
It does not. He's got Rengeki. Proximusol.
Galileo's back.
He is back. Galileo is on top now.
He's one set from grand finals. The crowd is chanting Dora's name.
We got a Dora chant. Dora trying to get that energy.
Favorite.
Dora opens with a hail of air jabs and baits Galileo's burst out. With the addition of Bang's poison nail, he only needs 3 touches to win.
It's everyone. Should kill. Catches the jumps.
Round 2 is similarly in Dora's favor. When he's pushed to the corner, he knows Galileo's habits by now and jumps out, hitting him with a deep jump attack to turn the tides.
Safe jump.
Safe jump. That's a really cool improvise.
Oh no.
He doesn't even want to risk a hit and bursts immediately. No way he's going back to the wall. Dora has displayed amazing reactions so far, and he gets a game-changing air throw when Galileo jumps at him. Supers can't be bursted out of, so he makes sure to do a quick combo into one to guarantee as much damage as possible. It's barely too little to win. He's one hit away. All he needs is one.
Situation, you're gonna get tagged by a nail unless you're absolutely flawless. Dora takes it up, 2-2.
The set is tied up, 2-2. The next game decides who's going to Grand Finals. Galileo closes his eyes and stretches his arms. Dora soaks in the crowd's chants.
But either way,
Dora just feeding on
give me
it.
the power.
Give me the spirit bomb. He's feeling it.
Galileo gets a good mix-up here, but Dora uses a counter-teleport to punish him and put him against the wall. There's about 5 seconds where neither of them aggress on the other, waiting for one to make the first move. A sudden moment of patience, and then hit! And the burst, Dora goes in for an overhead blocked, and another blocked! For the first time, Galileo blocks both of them, and he takes his turn back, doing a full combo into super that doesn't quite kill. He just needs one.
Gets him with the odd meaty.
Round 2, Galileo activates his first overdrive of the set, but tragically loses it to Dora's teleport. There goes burst. He can't let it get to him. In a crazy clutch moment, Dora teleports again out of the corner and scores a counter hit. Galileo slams a dragon punch on Wake Up and escapes. A game-winning
And they're so ice
broken. All they need is one hit.
Dangerous.
And they're so ice stakes.
He drops it. Galileo dashes in.
Have any nails? Gets caught.
The overdrive! He's not going to be able to burst. He's going down. Galileo's going to Grand Finals. And you know Dora is just soul crushed for the fact that he couldn't.
Dora congratulates his opponent, and Galileo roars, letting out all the tension of the last 5 games. He's done it. He made it back. But it's not over. Not even close. Remember, Galileo is in losers, and Dogura is still in winners. Dogura only has to win 1 set, while Galileo needs 2. Unlike with Dora, this set starts out slowly. Both players back off and throw out big moves from a distance to test the other's habits. The first big hit happens about 11 seconds in, when Galileo gets a single air-to-air. The moment he lands a big combo starter, Dogura bursts out. He doesn't want any of it. This round goes quite well for Galileo. He keeps Dogura just out of range and maximizes the hits that he does get.
Will it kill? It does.
Round 2 starts with a similar level of confidence.
Excellent anti-air.
While Dogura opens him up several times, Galileo's defense remains stoic, and his bread and butter tools win him the first game.
Oh.
His focus is visible. This isn't gonna go like last time. The first game of a long set is often slower. Both players take the time to feel each other out, testing their basic offense and defense before bringing out more complex decision-making. Immediately, the pace of Game 2 is a blitz compared to the last one. Dogura gets a lot of mileage out of his aggression, putting mark after mark on Galileo until he gets him in the corner. The offense here is blistering. He uses his teleport dash to switch sides over and over again, eventually baiting out Galileo's counter-assault, a type of very slow, invincible move that every character has access to while blocking. This gets punished.
You know he was looking for that because the double marks represent so much danger that Galileo's forced to pull the trigger. And Lychee put in an anti-gravity vortex for a moment, just spinning helplessly.
Round 2 is similar. Dogura expects Galileo to air dash in, so he preemptively jabs him away. I want to take a second to appreciate this insanely cool combo routing.
A very common option select for Lychee players.
Wow. He opened with a mark and then comboed into it. Wow. That is the sickest counter hit punish I've ever seen with Azrael.
Even when Galileo manages to claw his way out of the corner, Dogura's defense is strong, and he forces him to burst away to no avail.
First from Galileo, worth the 50 for sure. Ouch. Catches it again. He's going to take that second round like lightning.
He's picked up on Galileo's habit of staying in the air and is using a lot more of Azriel's flying roundhouse to control space. Galileo takes a moment to collect himself. Dogura already showed a propensity for adaptation, and with how powerful his answer to Game 1 just was, he can't risk losing his edge. At round start, Galileo expects Dogura to make the same safe air approach, so he pulls out Lychee's Itsu special, which automatically blocks while she's in this stance before firing her staff. This is an excellent counter that surprises Dogura and sends him to the wall. At 70 seconds, Dogura lands a big hit, but messes up his input afterwards. Despite this, he takes it in stride, immediately breaking out of Galileo's air throw and charging at him like nothing happened.
Good blocks, but gets caught. Gets caught again.
The mark. Pays off the mark. And full combo to take another round.
Round 2 sees Galileo returning to some of his strong tools for space control, carrying Dogura to the corner and creating this weird interaction. Galileo sets up this spinning pinwheel, which forces Dogura to block for a second, then hits him with an overhead. Dogura is inclined to bursting early, so he does, but Galileo decides to combo into his Dragon Punch. DP is invulnerable, so he passes right through the burst. Then, Dogura does Growler Field as fast as he can, absorbing the staff as it falls and basically getting a second burst out of it. How wacky. Galileo seems a bit thrown off by this and runs back in, only to get his dash checked by a jab. Dogura gets a bit too greedy with his offense, going for side switch shenanigans, and ends up losing the round for it. I'd also like to point out Galileo's awareness and creativity with his round-winning combo. He gets this hit and air dashes in, but Dogura ends up bouncing off the wall and putting him in the corner. So he has to do this roundabout sequence to switch sides back.
It's like, wow, this hit? Okay.
All the way back in the corner, too. Oh, okay. Dropped at the end.
Very nice.
Yeah, there we go.
He's got Subuta to end this if he needs to.
Yep.
Galileo continues adapting to Dogura's style. This time, he does Itsu at round start, but sends it downwards. Dogura doesn't want to get hit by the same trick again, so he starts with a grounded option instead, and gets hit for it. Galileo tries to build a huge health lead by resetting his combo. Basically, the longer a combo goes on, the less damage each hit does. So he intentionally drops it at an unexpected moment and hits the opponent again before they realize what's happened. This starts a fresh combo, and assuming they don't react fast enough to block it, it's like getting 2 for the price of 1. Dogura bursts immediately. As soon as he escapes the corner, he's now faced with his own challenge. There's a huge health lead. Throughout the match, he's been using his health as a resource. He can afford to take a few hits to get in because the payoff is worth it. Now, that's not an option, and Galileo can sit back and play defensively, forcing the short-ranged Azriel to make risky approaches. Look at Galileo just hammering these long-range staff attacks over and over again. Dogura manages to get in and side switch.
Option
That's
select.
Yeah, wow. Great cross-up.
Beautiful resources.
Dogura goes for this cross-up a lot, because remember, if you switch sides, you also switch the direction your opponent needs to hold to block. To counter this, Galileo does a trick here called an option select. Basically, he does one input that will result in different outcomes based on the situation. In this case, while blocking, he holds A and B, which activates barrier. That's this green shield thing. It's like a buffed up block that costs this gauge up here. At the same time, he does the input for his Dragon Punch, but backwards. This means that if Dogura stays in front, Galileo will continue to barrier, but if he crosses up, the DP input will now be facing forward, the new forward, and the move will come out. This option select makes Dogura a lot more hesitant to teleport willy-nilly around him going forward. Dogura starts all out, getting an early lead by making a less committal jump in at the beginning of the round. With one trip to the corner, he demonstrates why he's such an offensive monster by performing what's known as stagger pressure. This is the act of leaving small gaps in your attack strings to mix up the timing of your blows. If the opponent does nothing but block, they're more likely to get overwhelmed and fail to react to a slow overhead or a throw. If they try to break out by mashing an attack of their own, they risk getting hit in the middle of their animation, aka a counter hit. Counter hits are scary because they do more damage, stun you for longer, leading to bigger combos, and in BlazBlue, a lot of heavy moves have bonus effects on counter hit. It's one of the most common ways to structure pressure in BlazBlue, but Asriel benefits a lot from counter hits, so Dogura barrages the opponent, leaving little gaps known as frame traps to get them. Oh, he also makes a crazy outplay. See, another very common option select that every character in BlazBlue can do is to input barrier and throw at the same time. While barriering, you can't perform a throw, but you can still break out of one by inputting your own. So if the opponent goes in for a throw, you'll automatically escape it. Dogura exploits this by knocking Galileo down, and then having enough time to side switch and jump. This avoids the option select from earlier, and also means that Galileo isn't blocking anymore. He's just inputting a throw. He whiffs the throw because Dogura's up in the sky and gets hit. Incredibly smart.
The grab backwards came out and he punished him.
Right.
That is insane. That's very creative.
Round 2 starts with another slaughter for Dogura, but Galileo finds a good hit in the corner. This roll is great. Most players roll backwards or get up in place when knocked down, but a forward roll has the least invulnerability, meaning it's liable to get clipped by something random your opponent does. The gamble pays off, and Dogura gets to do the Valiant Crush combo.
Or he would not have had meter. He didn't even deal with these marks. I don't know.
Barely survived.
Yeah, this is why counter hits and weak points are so good for him. This is the Asriel combo, by the way. The next few seconds are frenetic. Dogura desperately wants to close the round, and Galileo is trying his hardest to stop him, but his play is erratic and disorganized. He's flailing a bit and doesn't know what to do.
Unfortunately, Galileo unable to confirm that.
He sinks the first Dogura has a tournament set.
That's brutal. Dogura was even expecting him to burst, so he just jumped back to block it. Normally, you'd be stuck in block stun long enough that you couldn't punish a whiffed burst from here, but because he was in the air, all of the block stun was cancelled the moment he hit the ground, giving him enough advantage to close the game. Dogura is one game from winning the tournament. He's one away from being the greatest BlazBlue player in the world, and he'd be doing it with an unbroken winning streak through EVO. He charges in with his method of tactical recklessness. Round 1 is over in a heartbeat with a flashy overdrive combo.
Oh, nice.
Oh, he baits it! He goes through with the overdrive!
It's gonna do so much damage.
It's gonna do so much damage!
Wow, what happened?
The final scramble! He made an
happened?
omelet! Dogura! Going into the final round! He can take the tournament right here!
One more round. His combos are crazy. He's getting every point of damage he can out of every opening. Galileo is fighting for his life. He breaks an air throw that forces him to stay in the corner. Dogura gets 2 marks. Galileo has used so much barrier that he's now in danger state, meaning he takes 20% more damage. Inch by inch, Galileo chips away at Dogura's health. Dogura gets 1 hit and backs off, expecting a burst, but it doesn't come, and he loses his chance. Galileo's decision to hold his burst here saved his tournament run. He's back in overdrive. The timer's locked, frozen until it's over, but Dogura can still win by timeout.
16 seconds
It's
left.
not enough!
Can he make it? Catches up.
He's got that!
He's got the lead.
One more!
Yuriso doesn't come out, but he hits him again.
He's back on his feet!
He staggers his hits, and Dogura flinches, losing the round. There's one more round? The play in round 3 is electric. Both of them are so sharp. There are no wasted movements. There are no dropped combos. Galileo gets an early lead and another hit. Dogura swings back with double marks, but Galileo gets a huge anti-air. Dogura rolls forward again, but this time the staff hits him on its return trip. Any hit could kill. They just need one more.
This is insane! Overdrive!
DB!
He's done it! Reset!
He's got the reset. Galileo, he makes it back from a terrible, terrible situation.
If you had asked anyone in the crowd, is the tournament over at the start of that second round, they would have told you yes.
The crowd is losing their minds. The commentators can't believe it. Galileo's actually done it. Dogura's been handed his first loss, and he can't let that happen again. Galileo has met him on the level, but they're both only halfway up the mountain. One more set, 3 games to win. The bracket is reset.
The wheel of fate is turning. Rebel 1, action!
Galileo wastes no time in putting Dogura on the back foot, taking his burst in the process. Dogura fights back with relentless stagger pressure. There's a renewed aggression in both of them now. They're both still playing excellently, but they mash a little harder. They get counter hit a little more often.
Tech jab is gonna be enough. Dogura goes up 1 round.
Round 2 seems to have gotten it out of their systems, and Galileo returns to his strategy of safe pokes. Notice how he alternates between this move and a fast, close button to catch Dogura in a possible approach. Dogura uses the corner to his advantage, defending just long enough to capitalize on their close proximity. From here, he runs a basic offensive plan with a few new tricks thrown in. That is, until the end.
Wow.
So it's actually
He goes for it!
oh,
Dogura!
flips the table over.
The table flip from hell. And Dogura is not intimidated.
Not at all. Finishes it with an astral.
This is an astral finish. Astral finishes are instant kill moves that are available only under certain conditions. You need full meter, the opponent must be on low health, and winning the round would win you the game. While they have a little bit of utility, these restrictions mean that they're only really used as flashy finishing moves meant to style on the opponent. By ending the first game of the reset like this, Dogura is making a statement. He isn't just going to win, he's going to crush him.
Have you ever seen a grand finals like this?
I have not.
Game 2 does not go well for Galileo. It's just mix after mix after mix. He gets one good moment in here where he takes a step forward from the corner to switch sides, but it's just never enough. Dogura is too patient on defense and too unpredictable on offense. He's in a flow state that Galileo can't keep up with.
Still plenty of time, Galileo. Galileo says no.
Jeez.
Unfortunately.
Talk about a statement.
It's match point, and he's down 2 games. The mountain is getting taller, and Dogura only needs one more win.
Crowd trying to give Galileo some power. He's not getting it. His eyes look a little red.
That is the look of a man who sees a light at the end of the tunnel, though.
He can do it. I believe in Galileo.
Galileo's first mix-up forces a burst. His blocking is more composed, his button presses are less erratic. He calls out Dogura's wake-up sentinel dump and brings him down to 30% of his life. He baits the growler field. He knows exactly what Dogura is gonna do. It's possible.
There's no punish.
Oh, great.
Definitely some life in these veins.
Yeah.
Round 2, he calls out another wake-up sentinel dump, but the Growler sends him flying. Dogura finds the perfect gap in his block string to turn the game around. Galileo rips a DP, hoping to surprise his opponent, but it's blocked effortlessly. Dogura just needs one more. Expecting a jump in, Galileo does Itsu at round start, but doesn't expect Dogura to simply jump forward and block. It flies by, and he's driven to the wall. Dogura gets a purple throw here. This is a throw that lands while the opponent is in block or hit stun, and is impossible in most fighting games. But BlazBlue allows it, at the expense of having a much wider window to break out than a regular green throw. Just like the Astral last game, this is a mental move. Due to the risk involved, purple throws are for catching the opponent asleep at the wheel, and he gets a massive advantage for it. Galileo makes a great counterpoke and sends Dogura mid-screen. He anticipates that he'll back off, so he delays his low kick to catch the end of Dogura's backdash. This takes them to the other corner. He sets up a staff. He knows what the response will be. He baits it.
Galileo's not giving up yet.
Dogura bursts out and gets a favorable clash. Galileo cancels into overdrive and gets nothing off of it. It might have been a misinput, but now he's lost his burst when he's one exchange from death. Despite all of that, he finally powers through the blunder and creates an amazing frame trap by rapid canceling. Dogura's portrait is flashing. That means he can astral finish. Any hit can combo into it. He just needs one hit. Galileo checks him with the DPOS. Dogura goes for Sentinel Dump on Wake Up, but Galileo does a surprise cross-up attack that flips his input from backwards to forwards, giving him the first part of his Tiger Magnum special. He's not expecting it and can't react in time. Dash, check.
Not able. Oh! The mash! The mash! Oh! Can he finish?
Will this combo kill?
Finish! He can! He can! He's alive!
Galileo's back!
Galileo's back! Every time I think this tournament's over, it's not!
He's on the board!
Maybe he's a man who gets stronger as he gets weaker.
I can't take this, man.
5 seconds in, Dogura falls victim to the same option select from earlier. He might be running out of tricks, but he doesn't need them when a single buster gets him this much damage.
Wow, the guard point did not come out in time.
Big hit. Puts him to the corner.
He's dancing around Galileo. The offense can't let up. Even after Galileo escapes the corner, he gets pushed all the way back. Galileo starts going all out on the counterattack. He rapid cancels to go for a purple throw, but it's not enough. Dogura gets this one.
Gotta be careful, you can't trade anymore.
Galileo tournament point.
Round 2 starts off a lot more evenly. Galileo checks Dogura's dashes, but he drops a critical combo.
How many times is that?
Corner with a Hornet Bunker and a second mark.
In the corner with 2 weak points, Galileo has never been closer to losing the tournament.
Could this spell the end?
Nice block!
Every time I think it's over, Galileo
Nice
gets back
block.
up.
He's controlling space. His pressure is unpredictable. You can feel the adrenaline.
Dogura with the mash out. He's doing damage, forcing the burst from Galileo.
Galileo burst.
This could be it.
Very nice block in there.
But no!
An insane anti-air jab steals the game back. He can't screw up again in round 3. His burst is offline for a while.
Oh my god.
Damn.
Oh no, he misses the Itsue yet again.
That is huge. That is huge.
In the middle of Dogura's hurricane, Galileo again and again finds the eye of the storm. His defense is impeccable when it counts. The next 10 seconds are a slugfest of traded blows and feinted movement. Galileo finds the perfect gap in Dogura's pressure, just wide enough to break him open, and Dogura responds with a wild sentinel dump. Once more, Galileo finds himself out of barrier, in danger state, and on low health. Dogura charges in, cancels it, and does an overhead drive attack. Make no mistake, if Galileo had defaulted to crouch blocking and been even a hair late, this hit would have killed. The weak point combo, so close to the corner, is devastating. The mind game now is crushing. That high weak point is popped by overheads. Dogura knows Galileo is aware of how dangerous it is, so he mixes in lows to capitalize on his fear, and still he blocks it. The mark has worn off, and Dogura can only find a small combo. He has such a health lead that he can afford not to be the most optimal at this point. Galileo has to make up for all that, but he has a full meter, and his overdrive is almost back.
He's been playing a very good defensive game.
He's still not out!
He's still not out, ladies and gentlemen. He's got overdrive stocked as well.
Forcing burst is huge. Now he's one or two good interactions from winning.
Can he do it?
What if Dogura gets
Oh! He punishes the good stuff. Overdrive!
The reset is coming!
Will this kill? I don't think so.
Is it possible?
I don't think this will
Is
kill.
this enough to kill? It's
Wait,
gonna kill!
he's doing lots of damage. It's
Go!
gonna kill!
He's done it again!
He's done it again!
He's done it again!
He's brought out to the last game.
Tournament set! Tournament set! What is this grand final?
Dogura taking massive damage from that.
James, this has been a pleasure.
Yeah.
This has been the best grand finals anyone could have ever asked for BlazBlue at Evolution 2014. Going down to the wire, time after time after time. This is the best grand finals of all time. There has never been a better one, and there may never be another one like it. It all comes down to this. There's no more comebacks. This is the tournament.
Galileo calls out Dogura's habit of doing jump-in jabs and air throws him for it, forcing an early burst. Dogura responds in kind, but Galileo hangs onto his own burst until he gets hit by the overhead shortly after. This could have been an intentional choice, only to blow it after the weak point had been popped, just in case he was able to block out the corner pressure. Galileo seems to have a good read on Dogura's proclivity for the air because he keeps calm and sticks to the ground until he sees an opportunity. Dogura thinks Galileo thinks he's going to roll, so he decides to stay in place to avoid a delayed roll catch setup. Instead, Galileo just hits him off the floor. Unlike almost any other point in finals, he actually sends the staff upwards. This gives him an amazing combo starter. After that, he pulls out the Crush trigger, a slow, unblockable attack that costs a quarter of your heat meter. Immediately rapid cancels it, spending 75% to seal the round.
Great conversion.
This man is not human right now. This man is not human right now. This man is a legend. This is the birth of a god. Galileo's on tournament point for the first time. For the first time this set, the crowd is electric.
And for the first time, Dogura is seeing it slip away. He can't let it happen. Dogura gets greedy and tries to continue his pressure even after his overhead is blocked. Galileo has more time to act and counter hits him. Growler Field throws him off twice, but Galileo still makes it back in with a great falling attack. Dogura holds onto his burst for as long as possible, but he gets called out for delaying his wake up again. A huge hit, but he drops! The stagger pressure, but he can't confirm. Finally, he gets an opening, and Galileo bursts. Normally, bursting with this much of a health disadvantage would be a bad idea, but he's telling Dogura that he believes he can still take the round. He just needs one. Galileo goes for a high-risk counter-assault and pays for it.
Oh no! It's made it! We have our final round, ladies and gentlemen! This is it!
Round 3. The last one. Galileo narrowly avoids a jump-in and retreats away. Dogura advances and Galileo attempts to bait a reaction with Itsu. Dogura's jump-in is blocked, but Galileo cancels out before he can throw the attack portion of the move. Dogura delivers a quick block string and tries to catch Galileo's backdash with a roundhouse, only to be air-to-aired. Galileo displays great awareness and picks this up into a short combo. Dogura recovers into the corner and Galileo charges up Lychee's staff attack. Dogura finds the perfect moment to Growler the projectile and backdash through the follow-up. Galileo is forced to back off to reset pressure, but Dogura jumps away and over him. They both refuse to engage for a moment until Dogura busters in, getting checked by a long poke. Galileo chooses not to go in for a combo, but a side switch, gaining a positional advantage. He places the staff and sends it immediately to cover his approach. Dogura gets clipped by it, and Galileo finds himself in an awkward situation, having side-swapped again. He sends him mid-screen and does his own cross-up attack. Dogura blocks it perfectly and de-escalates things. Both players use their longest pokes, safest air buttons, and staggered pressure in the hopes of catching the other, but it's Galileo who closes the gap, landing a surprise overhead which he converts into 30% of Asriel's life. Even after Dogura flies out, Galileo maintains the offensive. He hasn't even taken a hit. He places the staff and backs away, hoping that it'll be enough to deter any approach, but Dogura still has no fear. The projectile he absorbed 30 seconds ago rips, and he finds his in. Every single time, Galileo has jumped back and air dashed away, so he chases him down and goes for a grab, only to be broken. Anticipating a dash in or a poke, he goes for another flying roundhouse, but Galileo goes high and over. His second attempt is even less successful, as Galileo knows he's just flinging himself at him now. Galileo sets up the staff, and Dogura sees an opening. It's the pinwheel, a move he's only used twice before. He converts it into almost enough. Dogura has to burst. The staff, which is sent up during the DP, comes back down and clocks him, taking him down to one hit. Galileo's almost at the peak. He just needs one. Dogura flies in. Dogura tries a side switch, despite how many times it's failed, and is punished by a simple jab. There is a bit of a mix-up here. He doesn't force Galileo to block anything and goes straight for the dash through. It's possible that Galileo would have waited until he was in block stun to start mashing and could have been thrown off by the lack of it. Nevertheless, he responds with split-second timing. Just a few frames of hesitation, and his jab might have been too late to catch the teleport. He was a single round from losing the entire tournament at 4 different points, and every single time he escaped. Not taking the burst bait saved his life. The side switch screwing up Dogura's input saved his life. This burst saved his life inches away from death, and the slow buildup of good decisions earned him his victory. Galileo can barely compose himself on stage. The culmination of 9 years of play, the fruits of 2 days of staunch competition, the release of an hour's worth of bone-slicing tension, and he can only cry. After EVO, Galileo would later reflect on the event in an interview with YouTube channel Born Free.
エボリューションに臨む前に一つ決めたことがあったんですけども、絶対にどんなことがあっても諦めない。もう絶対に自分には負けないプレーをするということを決めてたので、一回そのボコボコにやられても、もう絶対その次は倒してやるという強い気持ちで臨みました。本当にもう夢が叶った。今まで思い描いてきたもう最高の夢が叶った瞬間で、もうこれ以上の幸せがないなっていう思ったんですよ。で、本当に今までやってきたこととその優勝したことっていうのがもう一気に溢れてこう涙が出てしまいました。とある方が夢は追い続ければきっと叶うと、諦めないやつが夢をつかむんだっていうことを僕に教えていただいて、それから本当に自分を信じる努力だけを頑張ってしてきました。
He would continue to compete in BlazBlue, going on to great success in the series' next and final revision, Central Fiction. He even rematched Dogura at Canada Cup 2017, with a win. When BlazBlue's competitive scene started to peter out, he moved on to the next ArcSys game, Dragon Ball FighterZ. He still plays fighting games on his own time, but seems to have hung up the sticks for high-level competition. Dogura continues to compete to this day. He isn't the multi-game god of yesteryear, but his talents have been focused into Street Fighter, where he puts up excellent results in team tournaments as recently as this year. You might see him in the extremely popular Crazy Raccoon Cup, where he's a sponsored player. While the BlazBlue series has unfortunately fallen to the wayside, with its creator leaving the company, this match has gone on to be enshrined as one of the greatest EVO Grand Finals ever played. In the end, Galileo proved he was great, and Dogura was left to reflect on his mistakes, learning and growing for the next fight. This is one of my favorite sets of all time. I heard about it years after the fact, but it deserves to be up there with icons like Moment 37. I love this one because it's so human and grimy. They are dropping combos, they are missing hit confirms, they're going for the same setup one too many times. It's so scrappy, and that ugliness, that clawing desperation from both of them to just win. They both want it so badly, makes it feel so cathartic the moment that Galileo finally gets it. It's incredible. BlazBlue is a really cool game, and if you can pick it up, I would highly recommend it if you're cool with getting your ass kicked for a while by people with a lot of experience. Its characters have some of the most creative gameplay designs you'll find anywhere. It's filled with hundreds of hours of visual novel gobbledygook, and it's got rollback netcode. That means that the online is good. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you appreciate this kind of fighting game match analysis breakdown, I did another video kind of like this years ago about a showcase match between Street Fighter legend Daigo Umehara and rapper Lupe Fiasco, which you might be interested in. I was gonna say that I usually don't talk about things this recent, and then I remembered that 2014 was 11 years ago. Thank you to my patrons who keep this channel free. $10 and up patrons get exclusive access to commentary tracks for these videos. You can also support me on Ko-fi and check out my podcast. Bye.
Here comes a daredevil! Game over!